This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 375 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products and TotalSaddleFit.com. Tonight we have Benjamin Pfabe, who was chef to keep for Region 9 during the North American Junior and Young Rider Championships. Judge Dolly Hannon joins us for the freestyle segment of our Through the Levels with a Judge series, and Ben helps us with the Total Saddle Fit trainer tip.
This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield from Georgetown, Kentucky.
And this is Philip Parks from Rockwood, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show with our producer, Jen, who's going to join us today.
Hello.
Hi, Jen. How are ya?
I'm doing fabulous. I have wine.
You and me both, sister.
I forgot mine.
There you go.
That's why.
Oh.
That's my problem today.
That's where the difficulty is.
That's where it is. That's the problem right there.
Really
well,
tired.
Glenn couldn't join us for the segment, but he did pop in with us a little bit earlier, and this is what Glenn had to chat with us about. Well, Glenn, you've got something cool you want to talk to us about.
That's right. Thanks for having me on your show for a couple of minutes. And I wanted to thank you guys and congratulate everybody. It is the 8th anniversary of the Horse Radio Network. We started August the 8th of 2008 was the first episode of Stable Scoop that went out. And we did a special episode over on Stable Scoop. One of our auditors, one of our listeners interviewed Helena and I with questions submitted by the listeners. So that was a lot of fun. And also, as of right when we're recording this, I'll be putting out very shortly the 4900th episode on the Horse Radio Network.
Wow. That's amazing. Congratulations to both you and Jennifer. Like, you had the vision, and it's so cool. Congratulations. That's amazing.
But, we wouldn't have got there without all you guys putting out episodes. So thank you so much for doing that.
That's right.
We just keep talking and talking
and talking. Several hundred of those episodes. That's right.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
I'm enjoying my third month. My continuous third month.
Yes, your third month again and again.
Yeah, again. So,
but we think that we're just over 6,200 guests that we've interviewed on all the shows.
Wow.
And millions of downloads. About $30,000 in prizes we've given away over the years. And we have listeners in 92 countries. So there you go. Good job, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you to all the sponsors. We have terrific sponsors. And, of course, Karen at Kentucky Performance Products was our first sponsor back,
love her.
back 7.5 years ago. She was our first sponsor and has been with us ever since and never has missed a month.
She's fantastic. Kentucky Performance Products. And we talk about the products, but she really is an amazing person and someone to answer. Yeah, I can ask any question about nutrition and she's on it. And if she doesn't know the answer, she'll figure it out. She's really cool.
And of course, Justin from Total Saddle Fit has been a sponsor for years, almost as long as you've been on. So,
we've loved the products from him, and he's been a great supporter for our show, and we've had him on a few times also, and it's been great.
You know what? I have to be honest. I called Justin. I was having a horrible saddle fitting problem on a new horse. And I literally sent him a picture and I said, Justin, I don't know what to do. Like, I felt terrible. And he sent a new pad that has changed the whole deal. And unbelievable. It's one of the wither relief pads. And I've never had a horse with such high withers and solved the problem. So Justin's like the magic guy around our house. So thumbs up to Justin. But he's just like that for everybody. Like, if you have a saddle fitting question, he's your guy. He can fix it. It's great.
So on your show with sponsors, we have the inside and the outside of the horse covered.
Yes, we try. We try.
Well, thank you guys. Thanks to all the listeners and the auditors and all the fans of the Dressage Radio Show. The Dressage Radio Show, is pretty old too. It's been around a long time. It was, I think, the third or fourth show that we started.
Wow.
All those years ago. So thank you so much.
The crazy dressage people are going to support, anything dressage-y, right?
Well, and I can tell you the first show, now Chris was hosting it then, but the first show was May 22nd of 2009.
There you go.
So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's
Very
just a little less than a year. Yeah, it was within a year we started this show. So
Yay.
there you go.
Yay. Very cool. Well,
Thanks, guys.
congratulations.
Congratulations.
Well, Jennifer, congratulations. You get a huge shout out from us too, as always. And we love when you join us on our show. We don't always get your company, and we're glad you're here tonight.
I feel so inspired after I record your show. I just want to go out and ride.
Go and
my horse.
ride. Yeah.
Go
Just do
ride.
it.
That's what we want. That's what we go for every week.
It's kind of sort of the middle of the night, but I still want to go out and ride.
Yeah, it's a little late now. It's probably still light, kind of.
Well,
It is
it's
still a
cool
little bit
enough to
light.
ride now, I think.
It
Yeah,
is
now you can
finally
ride,
cool
for
enough
sure.
to ride. Now, I would have to put on a scuba mask to ride in the arena right now because we got 4 inches of rain yesterday,
Wow.
all in
Nice.
about 3 hours.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah, it's kind of swimmy out there in the arena.
Yeah, you can ride. No, for sure not. Well, Jen, you have the Olympic schedule. Am I right with this? I'm gonna have to write down everything as well.
Well,
what is the schedule?
I sort of have the Olympic
Okay.
schedule. Everybody's really thrilled because this year NBC is streaming 100% of the equestrian sports
Woo!
at the Olympics. It's
Nice.
all going to be streamed.
That's so cool.
The hard part is finding out which parts are going where and what time.
Mm-hmm.
So I found out that the Team Dressage Grand Prix Day 2, which is the 11th of August, is going to be on NBC from 3:45 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern. That's not very long, is it? That's only 45 minutes.
Yeah, the horses are eating late that day.
Yeah. Now,
Or maybe
Eastern
we can
time.
pause it.
That's
Yeah,
Eastern time.
We can pause it. Okay.
And also on the 15th of August, individual dressage final Grand Prix freestyles. Woohoo! The best part, freestyle day. It's going to be on USA Network. And that's going to be from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And that's going to be broadcast live.
Awesome.
Nice.
The other
Very
ones-
cool.
Yeah. Now, again, all of the horse sports are being streamed live. So if you go to NBCOlympics.com, best of luck navigating the website. It's a beautiful website with lots of pretty colors and nice pictures. It is a little tough to navigate, but it is all being streamed live there. So I would encourage you, well before your favorite sport is ready to start, to go in there and figure out how to actually make it stream. It will probably become dead obvious on the day. There's probably going to be a big button there,
Potentially put it on the Dressage Radio Show Facebook so we can all figure it out together.
Something. We've been putting links to the NBCOlympics.com website as many places as we can.
Cool.
Because all of it is there, and I have found it all. But like I said, right now it's a little tough to navigate. I would just suggest on the day when the Olympics start, go click on it. It's easy to find. Tuesday. Here are the sports on Tuesday. That's easy to find, but the live buttons that give you the ability to actually watch it are not there. They can't put them up yet. So that's what makes it a little bit confusing. But I have confidence that our tech-savvy audience will figure it out.
Love it. And then tell us non-tech people.
And this is the year of ratings. This whole hoopla about Olympic equestrian sport being eliminated from the Olympics. Hoopla, worry.
On the chopping block.
Chocolate on the chopping block. A very, very important part of what's going to keep the equestrian sports in the Olympics are the downloads and the viewership on your TV and on your computer. They take a very, very serious look at that. So I encourage everybody.
So everybody set everything. Watch it on your computer and put it on every TV in your house.
Every TV in your house, download it on your pod, your computer, your neighbor's computer. We need those download numbers because they hold significant weight on what sports stay on those Olympic venues.
We can do it. We're good at that, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Horsey people. We're really good at that.
There
Love
you
it.
go. So there you go.
Fantastic. I love it. Well, right after this commercial break, we're going to come back with Ben Pfabe. He is going to talk about the North American Young Rider Championships, and we want to give a shout out to all the riders and competitors there. He's going to talk a little bit about who we saw and what happened.
The horse that matters to you matters to Kentucky Performance Products. Feeding your horse starch-laden grains can lead to colic, laminitis, and metabolic disease. Today, nutritionists are recommending the use of high-quality fat to provide healthy calories. Fat is an extraordinary energy source. It's readily utilized by the horse and contains more than 2 times the calories of starchy grains. Replacing grain with a high-quality fat supplement reduces a horse's risk of developing health problems. EquiJewel Stabilized Rice Bran is an excellent fat supplement. It contains a balanced calcium to phosphorus ratio and won't cause mineral imbalances when added to the diet. Its all-natural ingredients are high in healthy fat and fiber. And best of all, horses fueled by EquiJewel stay calmer and more focused on the job at hand. When you need to add healthy calories to your horse's diet, choose EquiJewel. To learn more, visit Kentucky Performance Products at kppusa.com.
Well, tonight we are so happy to have Ben Pfabe. He is an FEI rider and trainer close to Dallas, Texas, in Argyle. Ben, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, you're also a good friend of Phil and I, and we've been trying to get you on the show now forever, and we finally grabbed you.
I know. We've talked about it for a while.
Yeah, we're super excited, and we have lots to talk about with you. First is you are building a new barn, right?
Yes, I am. Very excited. It's really cool to see, it was literally just land and, watch the excavating and now see the buildings go up and plan it all. And it's really fun, and we've all been to so many different barns, so what's practical, what works, what doesn't work. So it's neat to kind of create something that's really beautiful and useful. I'm sure we'll make a couple mistakes, but I think it's going to be pretty good.
Oh, that is awesome. So we asked you to come on because we are actually doing a Young Rider show today, and you were at Young Riders, so you were the chef de keep of the Region 9 team. So tell us about it. How was it?
It was really, really fun. It was my first year going as a chef. Last year I went because I was training one of the young riders from Texas. Cassie Schmidt is her name. And their current chef then, he just didn't have the time to do it anymore, so I was kind of shadowing him last year. And they sort of hinted they wanted me to do it, but they weren't quite sure either. And they asked me if I wanted to do it, and I said, yeah, sure. I think it's a great way to give back a little bit. You're there for a week, you definitely take a week off work, and it's a lot of time commitment during the show because, you're there from morning until night. It's easily 14, 15 hours during the show every day. But it was really fun. It's I think such a great cause. It's the future of the sport. I think we all should support it.
Absolutely. So what does the chef do? I mean, what's the role of the chef?
Yeah, so it's actually for the young riders, it has nothing to do with training. It's more I go to all the meetings. I make sure they all know when they're riding, where they're riding, the order of go, where's the jog, where's, the schooling arena. Do we wear coats? Do we not wear coats? They basically want the chef to be the middleman between show management and the athletes and the parents. Because they don't want all the parents to run to the show office every 5 minutes. They want just one person to be the spokesperson for the region. And that's sort of the gist of it.
Did you have any tough parents? I want to know.
We really didn't. This year was very good. I've been warned. I've heard lots of stories from literally fist fights through chairs being thrown in the aisle. And our group was great. We had no trouble. But I do think, I was worried, I wonder if the kids are going to be, emotional or difficult. But from what I hear, it's really not the kids that cause problems, if there are any.
So this year represented a change in the young riders in the location, right? You had to go all the way to Colorado. Normally they're hosting in Kentucky. So talk to us a little bit about that venue. Most people probably haven't seen it, been out to Colorado, and how that worked for the competition.
Yeah, I have not been to the Colorado Horse Park before. I've been to Lexington, before for nationals and for young riders. And Young Riders was at the Colorado Horse Park before, but that was, I think, in 08 or 06 maybe, so I wasn't there. And, Bellissimo owns it now, so they've changed quite a bit, and it's really quite nice. It's a lot everything is a lot closer than Lexington. You know, the barn is right there, the warm-up is right there, and the show ring is right there. So it was a little bit, actually, I thought a little bit more intimate and maybe a little bit less scary for some of the riders, you know, especially the really younger ones that are 14, 15 years old. At the same time, you don't have the big Rolex. You know, I'm sure that's exciting for a lot of us, you know, if you get to ride in that. But it's still a very lovely competition arena. There was a lot of worry ahead of time because of the altitude, you know, because it's in Parker, Colorado, so it was like, I think it's almost 6,000 feet. But that really wasn't an issue. Like, none of our riders had trouble, no horses. And I've heard conflicting things. I don't know for sure, but from what I gather is that horses really don't have problems with it at all. The only thing, like, it's very dry. You know, there's, like, no humidity, so it was stressed that we make everyone drink a lot of water. And it can get hot there, and it definitely, the sun is intense because it's so high up. But overall, it was lovely. And, you know, I'm from Texas. It was like 102 degrees when I left. And then Colorado was down to like in the 60s at night. And the afternoons got toasty. It was like, I think the highest was like 85, 86 or so.
But you're like, this is nothing. It's like that when I wake up.
I know.
Texas.
It literally.
I have actually been to Parker, Colorado. I went the last time Young Riders were there, and
okay,
that was like 2001. It was a long time ago, you know. And I will be honest, we did have a problem with the altitude. That was my sister and I. You know,
you're sensitive.
My sister, my poor sister, she like couldn't keep anything down for a week, and I did fine, and it was awful. And then I was okay until the very last day, and I think that's what happens. You can have like trouble, and so I finished my individual test, and I like fell off onto my dad, and I woke up in the golf cart. So I remember there being some issues that we had, but again, we're from Kentucky, and it's very
it's different. We had one girl that got a little nauseous, but nobody fainted and fell off or anything. So there was, you know, no serious trouble with it.
And how was the riding this year? I mean, what did you feel about, you know, all the kids that rode? A Canadian won, right? A Canadian won the Phil.
No.
No.
You know, region one, young riders that Nicholas Hansen.
Nice.
Nicholas Hansen trains with a Canadian, Jackie Brooks.
Okay.
Yeah, with Jackie. Yeah, exactly.
You could have claimed him.
And he had a lovely ride. Really, really nice. He won. Well, actually, he won all three gold medals.
He won all three tests.
He won the freestyle, the individuals, and then his team won. And there was a really lovely horse and rider in the juniors that won. Jenna was her name, from Region 3. Really beautiful gray horse. And I saw him the first day of school, and I was like, oh, that's a nice horse. There were definitely several horses, you know, you look at like, oh, he looks fun to ride.
Yeah.
Lots of good riding, and everyone really takes it seriously. It was nice, you know, there was all the coaches are there, everybody works hard, and of course Charlotte and George were there, which was great. And then they offer, you know, I mean, everybody can take lessons, and it's paid for. They don't have to pay for it. So it's really
cool.
It's a really great program. And I talked with both of them a bit, and they're really committing their life to it right now. You know, they're traveling all over the place. They're doing the clinics. They're at, you know, obviously during the competition, but they even go to some of the qualifiers. So there's a big effort being made, and people are taking advantage of it. And it was nice to see that all the trainers would welcome it, and they would sit with George or Charlotte and, you know, coach the kids together. And, you know, I see how somebody would be concerned, like, oh, I don't want to change anything the day before a competition. And both of them are the first ones to say, no, like, we're not here to change anything. We're supporting you. We want to build on your system. We would never, you know, completely change your way of riding or, you know, not take a chance on that. So that was really nice to see.
And both of those trainers are seasoned riders, seasoned competitors. They've helped people, you know, at horse shows forever. And I think that, like you said, it's a free service, and they are around the country. You should really look into that for your kid.
Yeah.
or if you know someone, because there are these free clinics that happen. You have to apply, and there's a system. But once you get to the young riders, they're there for you. Actually, the federation pays for them to be there. So you have to sign up through your chef to keep, who would be Ben, and he signs it. Right? You signed everybody up if they wanted it.
Yeah, either that. I mean, they were so approachable, though. They welcome the kids walking up to them and introducing themselves and saying, like,
Awesome.
hey, this is my horse. Do you have time for me? And they would hand out their cell phone numbers and text with the riders directly. I mean, it was really, really friendly. Like, there's no need to be intimidated or, thinking they could not be approached.
Awesome.
So, Ben, did you have any of your own students that you were traveling with and helping and coaching as well?
For the young riders, not this year. The girl I was helping last year, she started college, and one of her good horses was not sound for a while, so he was out. So I didn't have a rider there to coach, and in hindsight, it was actually good because I thought, it can't be that much work to be there, but
Right.
You run around a lot between the meetings, and, then we escort the riders up and down to the warm-up and to the ring, making sure they have the numbers, other credentials. There's another part I was responsible for. So it's a lot of official work, and it was really neat to really see a show from that angle. And it's it's a big show. It's structured just like the Olympics are structured. So it's cool to get a little bit of an insight, from behind the scenes.
Cool.
That's
And
very cool.
did you come away from the show with any good tips or advice that you could share with our listeners about maybe young riders or just a big competition in general?
Yeah, definitely. Like from I think first of all, I want to encourage everyone to do it. It's such a great program. Yes, it's very competitive, and there are a lot of very good, expensive horses. But I think even if you don't have the most expensive horse, like, work hard for it. It is such a great program to do. And Nicola's horse, I think he couldn't pass the jog at festival last year, and this year he won all 3 gold medals. So, it's definitely go for it. If somebody is interested, and, talk to your coaches, the regional coordinators, look up the qualifying shows, and, try out. And you can always declare. I think it's only $50 to declare, and you don't have to decide until you have some of your scores.
Yeah, no, it's a great program, and you have access to people like yourself, and a lot, there are a lot of people around that want to do that. So, it's a fantastic way to go. So, well, Ben, thank you so much for coming on the show. How can our listeners find you online?
The best thing is probably my business Facebook page. That's BP Dressage. My website is bpdressage.com as well, and I'm on Instagram as well. So find me, add me, and all my other contact information is on the website as well. Of course, email or my cell phone number is on there too.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Ben, and good luck with the new farm. Well, Phil, we are coming back with everyone's loving this series, including you and I, because we learn something every time. But we are coming back now with our Through the Level series, and we are looking at all of the lower level freestyles in this next group with Janet L. Hannon, or Dolly Hannon, as she likes to be known, and she does a fantastic job. She's the chairperson of the USDF Freestyle Committee. So I hope you enjoy. Well, this evening, for our continued series of Through the Levels from the judge's perspective, we have Janet L. Hannon, also known as Dolly Hannon. She is the chair of the USDF Freestyle Committee. She's a certified instructor, and she's also active in the Western dressage community. Welcome, Dolly.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we are super happy to have you. And, being chair of the Freestyle Committee, we decided that, and we have given freestyles in this series 0 love. So I thought it was a great way to, to kind of open the conversations for freestyles. And same thing, we'll talk a little bit about the purpose and why you do it and how you do a good one. So if we'll just get this party started, there is a training level freestyle, right?
Yes, there is a training level freestyle that came in recently, and there have been a lot of people asking for a training level freestyle, and unfortunately, we'll see if it ticks off, but we haven't seen as much interest in terms of performing them as we'd hoped. However, it's done a lot in Pony Club. There's also lower level freestyles in Western Dressage. So we have one as well. It's pretty straightforward. All lower level freestyles have a maximum time of 5 minutes. There's no minimum time. And at training level, basically, you can't, with this last series of freestyle tests, you can't include anything really from a higher level because we realized that we were not in compliance with USCF rules. In the past, you could include some transitions from a higher level, but now, unless it's specifically noted on the freestyle score sheet, you can't do that. So there's still a little confusion about that. We get a lot of questions in the USCF office about what's allowed and what is not allowed, but I think people are starting to understand. Anyway, at training level, you must show there are compulsory elements. When you look at the freestyle test, all of them, there's a technical side and an artistic side. The technical side is scored the way any test is scored. And basically what's included are the requirements of the highest test of the level. So if we look at the training level freestyle, you have to show 20 meters continuous free walk and medium walk. Sometimes people will try to get a little creative and break it into segments, but that doesn't work. It's got to be continuous. And if you read the score sheets and read the rules, guidelines, and definitions on the USDF website, you'll get a lot of information about what's expected and what must be included and what the rules are concerning freestyles. You must include a 20-meter circle and working trot both directions, and they're scored individually. You must include a serpentine in the trot and a stretchy trot circle, or a stretchy chewy trot circle, as some people call it. You also must include a 20-meter circle in working canter, both left and right. Then there's a score for transitions. Both scores are halts, as in all the freestyle tests. And then there's a few collective marks at the bottom that talk about the gates, the impulsion, the submission. If we look at the bottom of the training level score sheet, it talks about what's not allowed and what is allowed. Basically, you can't include any first level movements in a training level freestyle. You can include a trot, halt, trot. That's one distinction. You don't have to show walk steps. You can show trot, canter, trot, but you must have 20 meters between the two canter transitions. So, canter, trot, canter. I can talk with 20 meters in between. And you may also show a trot, serpentine, or single loop. The loops cannot be smaller than 15 meters. So that's the only thing that's specific to training level at the bottom. The artistic impression of all the lower level freestyles is the same, except the coefficients are a bit different. So if you're thinking about a freestyle, you want to look this over and think about what's being emphasized with the coefficients. The coefficients are movements that have multiple scores per movement. So, for example, in the training level freestyle, the harmony between horse and rider, which is the first artistic score, has a coefficient of 4, and on the first and second level test, it has a coefficient of 3. So that's just important to know the difference.
Yeah, for sure.
And as I said,
to check,
we don't,
like you said, checking is important.
double check.
Yeah,
Double
read
check.
the
Be
material
with the
that's
score
out
sheet.
there. Yeah.
Yep, it's out there.
There's a lot of material, and there's E-Track. USGS has an educational program called E-Track that has different series online. Very helpful. They also have podcasts like this one, where they are interviewing people and getting information out there. So again, we just can't have too much education. And I haven't seen many training level freestyles except in Pony Club rallies. I did see a very good one in Las Vegas. It's possible, absolutely. If someone's trying to work on their show nerves, or someone would like to ride to music, they certainly can do it now. We see many, many more at first level than we do at training level. But we'll see what the future brings.
Yeah. So let's go right into the first level. So
All right.
Isn't it true though there are requirements at each level? Like I'm not sure about training level, but I know at first level you have to get a certain score at what is that? You can't just go and enter a freestyle, correct?
No, you can't just go and enter a freestyle. You have to have a minimum score of 60% at the highest test of the level to show any freestyle. So if you wanted to do a training level freestyle, you must have a training 3 score of 60%, and you have to submit that test with your entry in order to enter a freestyle class. So the same thing is true for all the freestyles. You have to have a minimum score to enter.
What if you're going to show that test 3 at that competition on the first day, and on the second day you want to do your freestyle? Does that occur?
If there are multiple shows, you could do it, but you can't do it within one show.
Okay.
You have to do it ahead of time. So, for example, I don't know about your area, but here we have quite a few shows you have multiple shows on one weekend, and you could hypothetically, you'd have to put a note into the show secretary. You could enter training 3 on Friday and show number 1, and show a freestyle on Sunday if you get the score. But then if you didn't, you'd be scratching at the last minute. So I think in general, I really haven't heard of anybody trying to do that. Maybe they have, but I haven't heard of anybody trying to qualify at the same show.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
He's Canadian. He's Canadian.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So we have the same show that is held over three or 4 days, and then you can get your scores, but in the situation like you said, you could definitely not get the score and then have to scratch your freestyle.
And then you'd have to scratch the class. But in general, it's pretty clear. You have to include a copy. I mean, I guess if you knew the show manager or secretary, I don't know. But I haven't heard of anybody doing that. So I would not recommend doing that.
Yeah.
Go to a show, get your score, and then you can post-enter. There's another thought. You could try to post-enter a freestyle class. If you have your score, not a problem.
Right.
Yeah. Love it. So with first level, we're moving on. What are the requirements at first level?
Okay. The requirements at first level, again, 20 meters of free walk and medium walk. You have to show a 10-meter circle in the trot, both left and right, a leg yield in the trot, both left and right, lengthened stride in the trot. It's not required to show it both directions. 15-meter circle in canter or larger. You used to be able to do smaller circles. You can't anymore. Both left and right. Change of lead through the trot, both left and right, and at least one lengthened stride in the canter. Both halts are scored, and then again, there's some technical scores at the bottom of the freestyle test. If we look at the bottom, there are some additionally allowed movements, and they are for first level, turn in the forehand, any configuration of leg yield. You can do a lengthened trot or canter on a 20-meter circle. However, I would generally not recommend it just because it's hard for the horse to stay balanced. I've seen people do it well where they did a half a circle and then continued their lengthening, but I haven't seen anybody recently perform a good lengthening on a 20-meter circle. That's something that the horses seem to need a little more balance for. You can also do a canter serpentine, and you can do counter canter. So there are definite ways to raise the degree of difficulty and make it more interesting. You just have to be careful that you're not performing an illegal movement. Judged quite a few freestyles this past year, and several first-level competitors included a walk-to-canter transition, which is not allowed and could potentially give you a deduction of 4 points from the technical side for including it. So I still think there's still a little confusion about transitions that can be included, but the score sheet is very clear. If you really read the score sheet, you know what you can include and what you cannot.
So is it,
and
as far as the scoring goes, it's a -4 for every movement that's included above the level?
Well, you don't see very many, and you can't, let's say somebody potentially did 2 walk to canters. They would get 1 deduction of 4 points from the technical side. But let's say, just say hypothetically, someone came in a first level freestyle and clearly, it has to be clear, it can't just be a mistake, clearly went walk to canter and clearly included, let's say, shoulder in, that would be 2 deductions of 4 points. So, but you just don't, I mean, other than walk to canter, I have seen very few forbidden movements try to be included. The people just don't do that. So it's generally not a huge issue. The artistic side is the same. If we have time, we can talk a little bit about the artistic marks, but we probably should go through second level in terms of what's included, and then, because the artistic side might take a little time to talk about. There's a lot to be included. If you look also at the score sheet, more information on the score sheet, it talks about the rules, the time limit. The rider has 45 seconds to signal to start the music and must enter. And we did have a rule change last year that said, at the discretion of the judge at C, you must enter the ring within 20 seconds of the music starting. And it also says that music must cease at the final salute. There were some people that had some, exit music, but that's not allowed. Mm-hmm. So I like personally the rule change about the discretion to eliminate someone for not getting in the ring within 20 seconds, because sometimes something happens. The horse spooks or the music's really loud, and there's, so I think that was a good rule change. And I think I said this before, but I'll say it again. All the freestyles are scored in full or half points on the left side, but artistic impression may be given in 1/10 points. And the nice thing about that is that those are used, we have fewer ties. So it's very helpful in terms of the classes and judging that the judges use those 10th points, because it makes a difference in terms of distinguishing, the differences between the freestyles you see. And then one other thing I want to mention, if the music fails before or during a freestyle test, the rider can, with the permission of the judge at C, leave the arena or start at a later time. This happened to me last week. The music failed, and they had to go get another CD. So we let the next person go, and then we brought the other person back in. And it clearly states there should be minimum interference with the starting times of the other riders. And if the rider decides to either start from the beginning or from where the music failed, which is sometimes hard to just pick up where it failed, the scores that are already given stand. So if someone started from the beginning, the scores that were already given would stay. You would not rescore the movements that you see. It would just be the movements you have not seen. So that's kind of important. Because I think
that's important to know.
Yeah, they don't know. They're thinking, oh, great. I mean, and the judge also, let's say something horrible happens, or loose horse. A horse gets bucked off in the next ring. A horse gets bucked off. A rider gets bucked off in the next ring. The judge can stop a freestyle in terms of safety. So sometimes safety issues come up, and we have to make a call on that. Not often, thank goodness, but every once in a while.
Safety first, of course, right?
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Safety first, absolutely. We keep trying. All right, so if we move on to second level, and then, as I said, we can talk about the artistic side, because it's fairly involved. At second level, you, again, must include 20 meters of continuous free walk and 20 meters of continuous medium walk. You must show shoulder in both directions, both left and right, and we recommend really a minimum of 14 meters per occurrence, just because if you don't give your horse time to get settled within a movement, the judge may not be able to see that it's clearly a shoulder in. So I would recommend at least 14 meters to make sure the judge sees what you're doing, especially when people are trying to be creative. They'll put some movements in different places, and if the judge is...
or off the wall or
not
something
sure,
like that, right?
the scores go down. So sometimes creativity and obscuring movements really cost you. You must also show travers and or renvers trot, both directions. Travers haunches in, renvers haunches out. Medium trot, you don't have to show it both directions. 10-meter circle or larger in canter, both left and right. Simple change of lead, both left and right. And competitors need to remember that a simple change means canter, walk, canter. So if there are trot steps, you have to show walk steps. If you get a little nervous or your horse is nervous and you blast through the movement, so that it turns into canter, trot canter, you're going to get a very low score. So it's very important to take your time. It's better to settle the horse and show clear walk than to rush through and get a low score there. Counter canter, both leads, both left and right. Medium canter, at least one direction. Again, both halts at the beginning and the end of the test are averaged. And if you look at the score sheet, there are preliminary scores, and then the judge averages it. If it's a straight average, it's easy. If not, then the judge makes a decision. And it's interesting. Sometimes if you look, you did, let's say hypothetically, 2 shoulder ins each way, and you only see 2 or 3 scores there. Well, again, it must be clear to the judge. I really can't emphasize that enough. You need to, if you're thinking about your freestyle, know what it looks like from C. And also, if you're thinking about going to regional finals or the finals, you need to know what it looks like from the side. If you have panel judging, you need to know what that judge sees. If they can't figure out what you're doing, you're not going to be happy with the score. Let's see, getting back to the second level score sheet, if we go down to the bottom, additionally allowed at second level, half turn on the haunches, no more than 180 degrees. I saw someone recently do a 360-degree turn on the haunches both directions, which did not enhance the performance. I did give her the 4-point deduction. I was, probably being mean, but that's the rule, so it's not being mean.
Rules are rules.
I wrote on the test, I said, look, you need, the thing about it is, it wasn't hard for the horse. She did perform it well, but it didn't enhance her freestyle. It took up a lot of time, and it's clearly above the level. So when it says no more than 180 degrees, it means it. Now, if someone just overturns a bit, we're not there with the microscope, so that's not the intention. But you couldn't miss this one. It was clearly turning and turning and turning. Let's see. Trot circles, 10 meters or larger. They're not scored on the score sheet, but you can include them. Medium canter and or trot in a 20-meter circle. Make sure your horse is balanced if you're going to do that. Medium canter on a diagonal. Now, one thing that wasn't mentioned on the first level score sheet that I have seen, a lengthened canter can also be included on a diagonal at first level. It's not on the score sheet, but it's a straight line, so it shouldn't really be an issue. But I did see someone do that early in the season, and it's not clearly listed on the score sheet. So that basically covers what's expected at training first and second level freestyles on the technical side. If we're looking then at the artistic side, that's where we're working very hard. The Freestyle Committee is working very hard, as well as USEF, to improve judges' education for the lower level freestyles. FEI judges get a lot of freestyle education. However, since there are so many requirements for the small R's and the large R's and the S's, the freestyle education along the way varies. So USEF is working on a requirement for freestyle education to have an asterisk next to your name in the judges roster, but it's still in process. We've been working on this for a long time, but it's not quite finished yet, but almost. And there is a wonderful USDF continuing education program that anybody or any GMO can put on that is very extensive in information on judging of freestyles. So I would highly recommend that.
And just,
okay.
Let's go just quickly to the music part, because that's a huge part of this. On what are you sort of looking for at this first training, first and second level?
Well, it's very interesting in that there's no question that when you see a good freestyle, whether someone is really trained or not, you can't miss it, because the music makes the combination, and especially the horse, look better. You'll see the horse kind of warming up, and then the music comes on, and you think, wow, look at that. I mean, it really either suits the horse's personality or it makes the rider happy so that the horse goes better. It's just very interesting to see the shifts there. When we talk about the music, in the lower level freestyles, we have 2 music scores. The first one is music suitability, seamlessness, and cohesiveness. And suitability means but the music enhances or detracts from the movement of the horse. An example would be overly energetic music can make an already quick mover look a little frantic or nervous. Another choice of music might enhance or elevate the gait and make the horse look a little bit more relaxed. And I've noticed that if someone hasn't ridden at high volume, oftentimes the horses really get jazzed up. So you have to be sure when you do your sound check, which everybody should do, it's allowed at every USCF show, that you either you know your horse can handle the volume, or you watch the volume and have the sound person turn it down.
And this is this is a big deal because at the regional finals last year, the other thing I would tell people is look where the speakers are, because I happened, not on purpose, we're in we're indoor arena, and I was right under the speaker when I stopped, and I had no idea. And so when they flicked on the music, I mean, it really scared my guy. He was a young guy. He was doing third level. It scared him. And so I ended up doing a wheelie turn, and it worked out okay, but it was rough. And so do your sound check, show up, and then look where the speakers are. Those are my tips on this, because it is a big deal. Well, show up.
Well, and also, too, what you hope is that the music is recorded such that it can handle higher volume, because the quality of the sound systems really varies from show to show. So anyway, you need to be sure that your music doesn't get distorted, or, you know, I've seen people with this horrified look on their face when the music comes on because it sounds so different. So the sound check is very important. And then going back to the music score, cohesiveness is a unifying feature to the music, such as genre, theme, or instrumentation. Like, for example, I judged quite a few freestyles recently at Lamplight Equestrian Center in Chicago, and there was no question for the most part who had a theme. Someone came into Simon and Garfunkel, someone came into Beatles, or it had something to do with their horse's name, or something that had meaning to them, and that helps, because it doesn't sound just thrown together. And sometimes if there's too much difference, for example, drums and then a flute and then ragtime, you would be sitting there thinking, well, what is the theme? I can't figure it out. So there should be something that someone could recognize. Seamlessness means the editing of the music, and some of the best freestyles have an amazing number of edits. I'm not that technically proficient, but even with a few edits, it should almost sound like a composition. It should flow from one piece to the other and not have either dead spots or awkward cuts or overly long fades. That's a good one. Or clicks. It's real interesting sometimes what you hear. The basis for the music score is the suitability of the music for the pair, and your cohesiveness and seamlessness are modifiers. And lyrics are unlimited in use. The only thing I would caution people about, again, with volume, sometimes lyrics are distorted. And also, the lyrics should not overpower the horse. You shouldn't be listening to the lyrics so much that you're not really focusing on the horse. So I think lyrics are fine, but it just shouldn't be so overpowering that it's distracting. That's just one thing that I would say about that. A guideline for assessing music: if you ask yourself at the end of a ride, did the music add or detract from the horse's movement for one, two, or all three gaits? Did all the pieces sound as if they belonged together, like a composition? Did the music flow, or were there disturbances? And the music score is one that shows the rider's homework. What have they done ahead of time? Does the music fit? Is it suitable? And if you say yes, whether or not you like it or not, for example, I don't love some rap music. Well, if it's rap music and it fits the gaits and it's suitable for the horse, then it doesn't matter if I like rap music or not. Yeah. But that's something to think about. You're definitely, the judge is trained to not take personal taste into account, but yourself. If you hear a piece of music that you like, it definitely, you're tapping your toe, and it, helps your feeling about it.
Sure.
Interpretation. Oh, go ahead.
No. I was going to say, I think that that's a big thing. And I always tell especially my pony clubbers that are doing the training level freestyles, they want to put, some real popular music in. And we talk about that. And I think that's really important to note yes, the judges maybe don't love rap music, but, maybe it's not the right choice. Maybe it is. But I always, tell them that. And I think that's important to know, an important point for sure. So.
Yeah, I think music choice is important, and sometimes people don't really think about it. There are many professional freestyle designers that are quite talented at matching music to horse and rider. If you do it yourself, if you're quite musical or computer literate, you can do it. It's a pretty big project, so it definitely takes some prior planning. Okay, so if we go back to the score sheet. On the FEI freestyles, they only have one music score, which covers music and interpretation. We separate it out, which I really like, and I hope someday the FEI might consider it because it helps you to get more specific about what happened with the music. So if we think about interpretation, the interpretation is the relationship of the music to the movement. And in our USDF CE program that Terry Ciapigalo spent hours and hours and hours on, she introduced, and along with the judges committee and the freestyle committee, the thought of the judge looking for 6 points of the phrasing, okay? And the phrasing is the way sequences of notes are grouped to form a musical idea. You can hear it. You listen to a piece of music and there's a change. And as we're assessing this, we look to see that there's phrasing coordination at the initial halt and salute. The first phrase change, so there's a change in the music. For the trot lengthenings, mediums or extensions, depending on the level, obviously. Canter, lengthenings, mediums or extensions. Gait transitions if possible, and at the final halt and salute. So when you're watching a really good freestyle, you'll notice the rider hits the changes in the music. I went down to watch the freestyles at Young Riders last weekend in Parker, Colorado, and there was no question. The top several riders had a very good sense of phrasing and riding the phrasing because you would hear the music change and the rider would do something. So there were some very good ones that were very impressive in terms of the feeling for the music and how the music worked with the type of horse and the horse's gaits. Dynamics are the changes between loud and soft within the music. Generally, we hear bolder music for lengthenings, mediums, or extensions. And generally, we hear softer music for walk and then later at fourth level and above, canter pirouettes. Not all music has good dynamic range, so we want to, that goes into your music choice as well. So we have those 2 separate scores for the music. And again, the music's what you do ahead of time. The interpretation is what happens at the show. And we oftentimes see tension, which affects the rider's ability to perform the freestyle. So, hopefully your horse is familiar with the music. Hopefully your horse is in the aids, and you can really show what the horse can do. That's what we're all trying to do. I'm doing a first level freestyle myself this year, and it's been a number of years, and it's an awful lot of fun. So yeah, I'm having a blast. It's great. Yeah, they're really fun.
I have never done it either. And, I ended up deciding with one of my students that this would be a really fun thing to do with her horse. And we've been working on it. And they take a lot of time. So I always do tell people, don't think you're going to show this like tomorrow, give yourself time. If you're working with a professional, they need time to get some of the stuff done. And I mean, we started working on ours in Florida this winter and we just got the music last week. And so it takes a while. And some of that is because that was us. It wasn't a rush deal for sure, because we've taken our time and looked at the videos and done all of that. So, but it really is fun, and it's something to do. Like I said, I've done it with one of my clients, and we've enjoyed it, and we've laughed and enjoyed the process. So, but Dolly, thank you so much for coming on and talking about. This is so much information. I've learned it too.
I know there's tons of information. Actually, we just missed a couple of things. Can I just
Sure,
talk
please.
for 5 more minutes?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I'll try to make it fast.
Please. No,
Because we
go.
forgot to talk about, on the artistic side, we went right to the music, because it's what you asked me about. But before the music scores, there's a score for harmony between horse and rider. And that talks about, obviously, the relationship between the horse and rider, the partner's positive physical as well as mental and emotional connection, which shows trust and rapport, confidence, we hope, and a sense of unity. And the thing that's you have to take into account for freestyle is that there are increased demands on the rider for the freestyle to stay on the beat of the music, interpret the music, and a harmonious freestyle should be truly appreciated. And that's one place where that mark will be affected by the success of the freestyle. And if we talk a little bit, we'll make it short, but if we talk a little bit about choreography, the choreography is quite important. Yeah. It's your floor plan, and it's the design of your floor plan. Was it cohesive? Was it easy to follow? Did you use the whole arena? Did you use some different lines? Were you creative? Were you on the quarter lines? Were you on the center line? What did you do in terms of combinations that might be a little bit different than your standard test? Sometimes we see comments on tests that talks about a test of freestyle being test-like. Well, unless it's a direct series of movements from a current test, it can't be called test-like. It can't be old test. It can't be even a slight change, because with some of these levels, as later on when we talk about third or fourth level, it's very difficult not to. If you're going to do a shoulder in and a half pass, you can change the order a little bit, but basically there aren't too many ways to show that creatively. So there are some, but so you have to be a little careful that you don't get too strict on what is test-like. When we look at it, we should be a little bit surprised. I don't mean, shock surprised, but we should say, oh, that's interesting. Look at that, where they rode that. I think that sometimes competitors get a little confused, and they are trying to be creative to a point where you cannot figure out what they're doing. So oftentimes, and I know in speaking to the judges from the finals, the USDF finals last year, they said that oftentimes the simpler freestyles, the simpler patterns scored better because it was very clear what they were doing and they did it technically very well. So keep your choreography interesting but clear to the judge. Make sure you use the whole arena. Make sure that the judge can see what you're doing. Degree of difficulty. Obviously, as we go up the levels, this becomes more important or more achievable. And while we expect FEI riders to select appropriate difficulty for their level, our USDF national level riders should concentrate on a clean, well-constructed choreography within the capability of their horse. And I think that's quite important. And if you think about, I'm not going to go into great detail on this, but if you think about exceeding the expectation for the highest test of the level, let's say first level test 3, in order to do that, you would have to show a steeper angle in the leg yield, or you would have to show a more difficult counter-canter combination than is included in first level test 3. If you do that, then you should expect a score of at least a 7 or higher. I mean, for me, if it's well done, really, it should be at least a 7.5 or maybe possibly an 8. If someone did intentionally perform movements above the level, that would not raise a degree of difficulty score. And the one thing I think to really keep in mind with degree of difficulty is your horse has to be able to perform whatever you're asking them to do fairly easily and willingly. So if you try to make it too difficult, then your degree of difficulty score is negatively affected. Okay, so that's pretty important.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So those are all the artistic impression scores on the right side of the lower level freestyle, and then the judge will make some further remarks if they have time, and basically will give you a little bit of an impression of what they saw. There's no question in my mind that to some degree our FEI freestyles are a technical ride that is musically enhanced. In the lower level freestyles, I really think we have, because of the differences in our artistic scores and separating the music and interpretation, we can have higher artistic marks than just the strict technical percentage if the music and the interpretation are good. So that's one way I've seen examples of not a huge moving horse who's very correctly trained, put in a terrific freestyle. And they're not huge movers, but they're so well on the aids, and the music is so much fun and really suits the horse. And they get done and you're smiling. And you just think, well, that was fun. Had to be fun to ride, much less to judge. So it's really an area I'm very passionate about, and I feel very strongly.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really fun. I would highly recommend that if someone enjoys music and they really like to ride the music, they should think about doing a lower level freestyle.
Well, Dolly, thank you so much for all of this information. It's fantastic. And like you said, there's lots of information online. And how would our listeners find you online if they have any more questions?
Well, I have a website under my name, Dolly Hannon Dressage. And I'm also always available through the USDF office. My liaison, Sharon Vanderzeel, fields many questions about freestyles during the year, so I'm always available through that venue as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This week's dressage training tip is brought to you by Total Saddle Fit, home of the shoulder relief girth at TotalSaddleFit.com.
For this week's Total Saddle Fit tip of the week, Phil's got a listener question, and Ben stayed on to chat with us a little bit about this tip. So, Phil, what is the tip for the?
Well, I saw Vera, who is a great listener, has probably listened to us from when we started doing the show, and she asked me if I could intro this segment for the Total Saddle Fit trainer tip about stabilizing the lower leg, or how to ride with a more stable leg in general, and sort of as a positional tip, and I think that this is a really common problem, so I thought we could cover it, and that would be great. What do you think, Reese?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Well, what do you tell your students who have a lower leg that bounces around a bit or needs to be more stabilized? What are you doing at home to help with this problem?
Yeah, so Ben, Ben, go for it. You start it.
Okay. Well, first of all, a lot of times what I see are that the stirrups are too long. I think if you're reaching for the stirrups, and you don't have enough weight in the stirrup, it's going to make it really hard for your leg to be stable. So I think, we want the leg to be long, but I don't think you get a longer leg by having too long of a stirrup. So I would shorten the stirrup, just appropriately, a hole or two. And I think it's important that the rider doesn't grip. And sometimes when the horse is a little bouncy or it's out of rhythm, I think we try really hard to keep our leg on, and in the process start gripping with the knee or gripping with the thigh. I think the leg has to be on, but it has to be supple, and it has to hang down all the way from your hip socket, not just, it probably doesn't start at the lower leg when the lower leg is so wiggly. And then I like to tell people, think about putting weight on your little toe in the stirrup so that this toe stay in and you keep weight on the stirrup bar. That is something I think that would help.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that is a number one thing. I think some people, they think, oh, we're dressage riders, I really have to have a really, really long leg. And not necessarily. I mean, you need to have your leg where you're comfortable having your leg, where the line of your shoulder, hip to heel will align. The other thing is, if somebody has a really bouncy lower leg, if they're comfortable, and I have an indoor arena, so we can easily take the stirrups away. That is also something that I like to do, is like, okay, obviously that's a strength thing a lot of times. And the other thing is the rider also may be very stiff in their hip flexor. So, that's one of the things that, if they're that stiff with a hip flexor, that will also not encourage them to go through with their seat. So that's the other thing, is I really like to, look at that and go from there. So those are a couple things that I would do. Ride without stirrups. And if you do have your stirrups, make sure that you have the correct length of stirrup. And then it becomes a real strength thing. And I think some posting trot to sitting trot transitions will also really help with that. So Phil, how about you?
Yeah, I think the thing that for me, and then Ben covered it a little bit, is about, the lower leg becomes bouncy when the upper leg is gripping, right? Or the knee is pinching, and that just destabilizes, everything above it and everything below it. So you're going to have a very stable, if you're gripping with your leg, you're going to have a very stable thigh, but everything else is just going to bounce around. So you have to make sure your thighs and your inner thigh stays really, really relaxed, and that you're really, when you're doing sitting trot, you're sitting with your core. And when you're in rising trot, or like the tip again from Ben about, trying to stand a little bit on the outside of your foot, not on the ball of your foot. Because if you find yourself on the balls of your foot, then, that's going to cause your leg to straighten out maybe a little bit too much. And then it comes forward and back, and, it just doesn't work as well. For the beginners, when I teach the beginner lessons, I do quite a bit of 2 points, so they're not challenged by the sitting trot, but they're learning how to really take their weight down, through their heels a little bit more to help stabilize that lower leg, and until the core is strong enough to sit really more correctly and to take the leg off of the saddle a little bit. I mean, everything that we talk about almost every week applies to this, because the entire body has to work together for it to look pretty good, right? So, any other thoughts, guys?
No, I think that's a really good coverage. Ben, how about you?
No, one other thing, maybe, like sometimes it's, especially in the posting, when people are posting a little bit out of the rhythm and they get a little bit of a double bounce when they sit or stand up, I think it's important that your legs swing the same way as the horse moves. So, and that's maybe a bit more of a beginner thing, but that's something to keep in mind as well, that you're really in sync with the horse and not going against it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
You got to go with the movement. You got to try and become one with the horse, right?
Yeah, that's
something like that.
That's the goal, right?
Yeah. Just to sort of, again, I'm thinking about absorbing all of the motion of the horse with the core muscles and with the middle of your body, so that your arms and your legs are not swinging around and getting out of balance. So,
yeah.
I
think that's where the art is in it, and that's why we all get so addicted to it, because you can never be good enough. You'll never get the perfect
you never
10.
feel perfect. I mean, I'm
Right.
constantly working on my leg position. That's one of the banes of my life is.
All of us.
Yeah, my leg wants to be a little too straight and come a little bit in front of me, and then I get problems. So, yeah, I mean, you gotta remember to keep that bend in your leg, right? Because if your leg gets too straight, then the whole thing becomes unglued.
Well, Ben, thanks so much for spending a little extra time with us on our Total Saddle Fit Tip of the Week. How would our listeners find you online?
The best way to find me is Facebook. My business page is BP Dressage. It's open, so anybody can see it and like it. Website is bpdressage.com. And my Instagram is bpdressage as well. And there's my email information, and even my cell phone is on my website. So, yeah, that's where they can find me. Call me, text me, email me.
I love it. Well, thanks, Ben, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
This tip brought to you by Total Saddle Fit, the shoulder relief girth that Reese and Philip both love.
We're going to talk about the new girth that Justin has. And Phil and I have both tried this girth, and it's fantastic. So, Phil, take it away.
I've had it. It's called, for quite a bit, it's called the Stretch Tech Shoulder Relief Girth. It has all the same awesome qualities and features of the shoulder relief girth, only that this one has a triangular elastic center that that allows the horse's chest to expand, and it makes a softer contact with the horse's sternum. So it's taken all the qualities of that nice shoulder relief girth and enhanced them even further, and made an awesome girth to allow your horse to breathe a little better. It fits awesome. It allows the shoulder freedom that we've talked about, puts your saddle in the exact right place where you want it to stay on, and I mean it's been great. It's a wonderful product. I've been using it for a while. I like to test things out to see if they stand up to the rigorous training schedule, work schedule of the horses that we have, and I've used it almost every day, and it's been a really great girth. I think it's even better than the shoulder relief girth because it's got more aligners. You have options, what you want to be on against the horse. So I have the leather one, and what I've really been liking is the neoprene liner, which is easy. You can take it off, hose it down, or put it in the wash or whatever, and it's been extremely durable, and it fit forms to the horse really in an awesome way. So we thank Justin for sending us that, and I think we got to try and get people interested in this product because it is a great product made by Total Saddle Fit.
Well, we really enjoyed the segment with Dolly Hannon today, and I've been enjoying this with all the judges. And Dolly was great. She offered for our Facebook or email shout outs, if you have any freestyle questions, she was great and said she would come back on the show and talk about any of those questions and answer any questions that you have. So our email and Facebook shout outs, send us some questions about
She says
freestyles.
they get a lot of them at the USDF about freestyles. So we want to try and cover as many as we can for our show and get it out to the listeners so that she has an easier job. And judges have an easier job judging the freestyles, and we can get a lot of information about the lower level freestyles out there.
Absolutely. So send that to us, and we'll make sure we get them to her. So as always, you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter @Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
The best way to find me is on Facebook. Just search Philip Parks, or my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week for allowing us to put on a great show. And don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody, keep your heels down, your shoulders back, and enjoy watching the Olympics on every one of your TVs, devices, etc. Let's keep the horses in the Olympics.
That's right.
We will
Stream that stuff.
Stream it. And we will talk to you next week.